Unlike women, men's value is communicated through their speech. But most men suck at communicating. They don't know what to say to a woman, and it leaves them coming across as unconfident and unattractive. And I've discovered it's because they don't know how to answer these 5 questions. Because if they have strong answers to these questions, they will be the most attractive person that she's ever spoken to. So get your pen and paper out, because I'm going to go through these one by one and show you simply why having clear answers to these questions makes you incredibly attractive. So we're going to start with number 1, and this is a huge one for women, and it's rooted in the idea that a woman steps into a man's life and goes into his future. She's looking at where you're going to determine how attractive you are, because she doesn't want to get with you if it's going to make her life worse. So one of the things that you need to answer is simply that. Where are you going? What is it that you're pursuing? What is it you're going after? Because if you can be someone that is able to clearly articulate, oh, this is where I'm going, this is what I want to do with my life. Whether it is like, oh, I'm someone that wants to climb 8 of the tallest mountains. I'm someone that wants to run a marathon. Oh, I'm looking to achieve this job, do this thing. What it does is cause a rush of attraction through her, because it communicates you're someone who's driven. You're going after a goal. She can start to have a lot less confusion about who this person is and what they're going after, which is massive for women to feel like they can have a sense of, oh, yeah, that's Darren, he's pretty cool. He wants to be X, he wants to be a champion swimmer. And it doesn't mean you need to have this like vast goal. You don't need to be like Chris Williamson trying to be the biggest podcaster. I've made the joke many times before, but there's something truly attractive about the guy that is just like, hey, I want to retire, get a home in Scunthorpe with a bunch of fish, and that is my aim. That is what I want to achieve because I love fish. It's like, you know what? He will find someone, he'll find another girl that properly loves fish who will hear this and be like, this guy. Because it just allows you to be confident in what you articulate and not just like some wishy-washy waste man. Women often, like, there's the cliche of almost the broke artist that, like, guitarist that will play small gigs but sleeps on sofas and does all this. But women find him inherently attractive because he's able to articulate that vision of where he's going and who he wants to be. Some of the most powerful speeches we've had of all time, it's not about what is happening right now. It's them communicating the future they want to build. Like, I have a dream, anybody? Like, if you're able to communicate where you're going, people just, like, they hoard around that. They love it. It echoes out of you. So if you're able to have this in your pocket when you're in a conversation with a woman, you're just like, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm aiming at. She'll instantly start getting more attracted to you. So the second question that you need to work on to be able to articulate are, what are the stories that define you? Because as humans, we learn to take in information not through hundreds of little data points. We hate that. What we love is a sense of story, a sense of narrative of who this person is. It tells us so much more about that person when we're able to just hear how they interacted in this situation with these people. So having 3 stories that you like to tell that define a part of who you are. I think I've told multiple girls on dates, and once again, I'll use this example so you know it doesn't need to be like, I met the Queen. Like, you don't need to have done something impressive for it to be a story that speaks to you. But I met one of my closest friends when he'd just come out of a 7-year breakup. And like, he was building himself back up from that. He'd never had an adult birthday when they weren't together. Like, they'd been together since they were like 17. And I'd been getting to know him, and I knew he was a little down about this, and like, he was a bit upset. And one of the things that his girlfriend always used to do for him was bake him like this carrot cake, and he loved it, and it was always symbolic of the relationship they had together. And it was like, I could tell it was eating him up a bit. So what did I do? Well, one person might assume that I just went and baked the cake for him, and then, yay, he's going to be happy, whatever. But that's not who I am. I don't like the idea of just swooping in there and being like, oh, well, you're still dependent on someone, it's just changed. So instead, I went out, I bought all the ingredients, I got them for him, and I was like, you're going to make it yourself. And he was buzzing with that, and I was just sat there like helping out a little bit whilst he made it himself, and then it tasted great, and he actually felt better for it. And that, I hope, speaks to the person that I'm. They're like, I don't want you to be dependent on me. It's like, teach a guy to fish, and then you never have to feed him again. And that's how I like to express myself in the world. I've told that on a bunch of dates that I've gone on with girls, and it seems to connect well, but it also is just an expression of me. I don't need a story that is me saving a bunch of puppies that I found out in the wild that have been abandoned. That's a true story from a client where I was like, dude, that is a jackpot. Learn to be able to articulate that properly, and that is an amazing story to tell people. But that's what we need, having that reliance where you can just fall back on a few stories that really show who you are. The amount of times in an initial interaction with a girl, when I've walked up and approached her, she might ask me what I do for a job, and I'll take her through a bit of the story of how I left finance, how I was working in that job for a while, and I was working with me and my boss. My boss was about 15 years older, and in his mid-30s, he was going really grey, and he actually ended up getting hospitalised for stress. And for me, that was like a portal into my future to be like, oh, that's not what I want. And that was a big part of me being like, you know what, I'm out. I want to do something else with my life. And once again, what do these stories do? They communicate elements of me, that I'm someone that is probably willing to be a bit risky and take a leap of faith when I had no plan. It's someone that values his time and doesn't want to be subservient to a situation he doesn't want to be in. It's like, if you just go tell a girl of just like, oh, yeah, I'm kind to my friends, or yeah, I like to do my own thing. It's like, cool, but these stories, this is what people remember. So answer this question of, what are the stories that define you? And be able to speak them out to people. It'll take a bit of practice, but it's so attractive to be able to have these just in your pocket, because people love stories, and if you can tell them mid-conversation, you'll build that connection. Next, answer the question of, what do you stand for? What are you passionate about? People hate having like dead, dry conversations. Have things that actually call out to you. Go through and think in your head, it's like, what am I actually passionate about? And it's going to be weird, niche stuff. Like, this is the secret, okay? This is the secret with girls. It doesn't matter what it is, because they're not particularly interested to what it is. They just want to experience the exchange of emotions of you speaking about something you truly care about. They will be in awe of you speaking. The amount of times I've gone on a rant about why I think Tinder is a terrible platform that feeds on loneliness of people and is driving us apart. Like, even if she's not interested, it's like she's interested in what that makes me communicate and how that makes her feel around that sense of passion that I'm on a mission to bring down Tinder, because I think it's done such an ineffective job at bringing people together. The amount of times I've spoken to a girl about Excel just because I'm shit hot at Excel and kind of love it. Like, I love running as well. Have these things that you know you can speak to with that range of emotion, because this is what the analytical guy gets wrong on a date. He turns up and he goes through it like a CV. He's going beat for beat, bullet point after bullet point of, yeah, like I go to this thing with some friends, I have this job that I quite like, you know, accounting's okay, what do you do? Oh, you do that, nice. It's like, there's nothing there. An interaction between a man and woman feeds off emotions, and especially on her side. She doesn't want to have dry conversations with you. She wants to feel, even if she doesn't even agree with you, the amount of times I've had debates with girls on topics when she, like, I love running, and do you know the amount of people that think running sucks? I'm just gonna be like, nah, you are quintessentially wrong. And it's I'm doing that to play for laughs as well, because people just enjoy the energy that's being brought to that, rather than being someone that has nothing that speaks for them. What do you stand for? It's important that you're able to communicate that. And if you notice, when we start to speak about these topics, how do we speak about them? Is it shy? Is it reserved and like, ooh, I don't really want to give an opinion? Or is it clear and confident? Because that's what attracts women to us. If we're able to communicate who we are in a clear, confident manner, it's usually down to the topic that we have picked. If you put me in a room and have to speak about like astrophysics, I'm going to come across unattractive as hell, because I know all about astrophysics. But if you put me in a room where we're having to discuss like relationships, attraction, habits, running, these sort of things that I love, well, I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna be someone that people are kind of drawn to. So find the things that speak for you so you can clearly articulate them, and notice how women start to take more of an interest. And then finally, your sort of fourth and fifth question, I bundle them together because I think it's important for you to be able to answer these, and it allows people to trust you more. You want to know, what are you good at and what are you bad at? And one of the reasons why we don't want to just tell people what we're good at is because when we tell people what we're bad at, this one allows them to trust us. The person that only speaks about how great they are at everything, they're not particularly interesting, and you start to feel like, is this really real, or do they just like to boast? Someone that's able to clearly communicate, like for me, I absolutely suck at spelling. Like, I'm pretty sure like I'm dyslexic and you do not want to read my scripts. They're an absolute mess and like basically just get deciphered by me. But that is part of who I am, and it allows people then when I say like, I'm actually pretty shit hot at running, like I'm real good at this, it allows them to trust me because they're like, oh, well, he's not just boasting, he has these two sides. And you also don't want to just be, as much as there's value in communicating what you're not so good at, you might have noticed like people connect to this when they see that you're not this completely amazing person at everything. People connect to your flaws. But then when you are actually speaking about what you're good at, it's important, because otherwise you're just the person that puts yourself down. It shows you lack confidence. Being able to do both sides is super attractive in a guy, and it allows people to get really drawn to you. They want someone who complements who they are. It's like, weird example, but me and my girlfriend, like, I am not the tidiest of person. Like, I'm not a mess, but she has a huge issue with me because whenever we are in the kitchen and I grab stuff out of cupboards and do that, I never shut them. And it's just like, I don't know, it doesn't enter my head. So she kind of jokingly loses her mind because she'll walk into the kitchen and there will just be like 10 different cupboards open. And it's like, oh, yeah. And it's like, the thing is, if I was just like, oh no, that's not me, no, that's fine. It's like, no, I openly admit that is my flaw. I'm a bit of a mess for that. They find that okay. The person that's able to admit to your flaws, like, people connect to that. The reason that a relationship dies is when someone won't even admit to where they have weaknesses, because that's infuriating. When you see that person that is so obviously incorrect and like doing things in a way that isn't conducive to anyone around them, and then they won't even admit to it. You're like, screw this person, I can't trust you. The fact that you can't even see yourself in all the damage that you're causing here, and you're not even going to admit to it, you're not even going to own it, it's not attractive. Being the guy that has worked on figuring out what is it you are good at, what is it you're bad at. It's like with girls, it's like, I'm not 6 foot. All right, like I don't have that in the locker, but I am quite good at building connection. I'm able to establish that kind of intimate vibe between us because that's where my skills kind of lie. I'm able to open people up a little bit more and speak to them on a deeper level a lot faster, and people find a lot of comfort in that. I'm also not like the hyper funny guy. Like, I'm not cracking jokes every 10 minutes because it's just not, like, I wasn't built like that, and it wasn't me. And it's like, if you're after someone that is a laugh a minute kind of guy, like, it's probably not me. But that's what's attractive, is that kind of self-knowledge, because overall, what we've been building over these 5 questions is someone who's self-aware, has that self-knowledge, often referred to as someone that also has like high emotional intelligence. And these are the traits that girls really do look for. They're hard to define, and that's why they can never really call it out, but then they just feel this sense of connection to a guy and they build it, and it's because he knows who he is. If anyone's come across Dr. Robert Glover, the guy that wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, he has 3 things that he believes builds every attractive guy. Like, he has 3 things about him. 1, he knows where he's going. Funny, that one, related to our question number 1. He knows who he is. And thirdly, he has fun doing it. And he knows who he is because he's done the work. He's actually spent some time to figure out what are his answers to these questions. What is he willing to stand up for? What is it that makes him passionate? What is he good at? What is he bad at? So he doesn't end up volunteering to do stuff that he should never volunteer for because he is not the right person to do it, because he has a weakness at that. Like, he doesn't overburden himself because he knows his limitations, but he also doesn't hide away when opportunities come up because he knows what he's good at. All of these are such attractive traits in a guy that genuinely, as an exercise, I get this, I do this with clients because I think it's vitally important that you can build a strong set of answers to these, because those moments when you're in conversation with a girl and like there's a lull, or maybe she asks a question, you just don't exactly know what to say. If you've gone through these are like huge talking points for a date. It's like, I talk about like what I'm good at, what I'm bad at, what I'm scared of, like what I love, what I stand for. All these things are amazing date topics. And if you can become comfortable speaking about them, then you'll always be the most attractive guy that she's come across. If you can answer all 5 of them clearly and show that self-awareness, you've cleaned up. You have absolutely cleaned up. Women fall in love with what they hear. Men fall in love with what they see. And this is why the quiet guy always struggles, because he has filtered himself out of the conversation. He doesn't have anything to input. Have these as a cornerstone of what you speak about. And if you're struggling with self-awareness, I have a very good strategy for that. There is one habit that you can adopt that will make you incredibly attractive, and it was one of the ones that caused a massive pivot point for me in terms of how I related to women, how I did in terms of approaching and speaking to them. And if you want to incorporate this one habit into your life, it will change your ability to be self-aware. It will make you more relaxed when you speak to women. So if you want to know what that is, check out this video here and you'll be able to see how one habit can completely change your world when it comes to dating.